Welcome to the Evolved Artist Podcast. This show has been birthed from a decade of helping bands make better music videos. From challenging the way that music videos are done to delivering results for our artists, we want this show to be a place to get inspired, think differently, and give artists confidence in tackling creative services, marketing, and becoming more sustainable. While the show covers tons of inspiring ideas, the key thing we want for you is to take action towards better marketing.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Evolved Artist Podcast. Your co-host, Ross, sitting on this side of the table, sitting with the head of JECP himself, Josh Emerick. Hey, thanks for having me and or doing this show with me. I don't know. It's a co-host sort of thing we have going on here. So I'll just say thanks for having me on this idea of yours.
Well, I'm so happy to have you because it just makes this so much easier because you have years of reps. And sure. I have years of experience, so I think it's just going to be a natural conversation, and it's going to just feel more comfortable for us and for the listeners.
And you read that script perfectly.
I did.
So we're off to a great start. So this is just going to be an intro episode to what this show is going to be about and all the upcoming episodes and all that sort of stuff, the philosophies and all that sort of stuff that we're going to be covering when it comes to, I don't know, the music industry in general, but music videos, but more so being in a band, marketing, all that sort of stuff. And we're talking about that not necessarily because it's like even the thing that consumes either of our daily lives necessarily, but it's something that we spent many, many years dealing with and going through the trenches alongside a lot of different artists in a lot of different ways. We've got a lot of points. We've got a lot of thoughts, opinions, and all this sort of stuff. And it's less about like, oh, this is the right or wrong way to do it, but more so, hey, this is where the experience comes from. This is what we can share with you when it comes to things like marketing or branding or storytelling with your band, making your band more like a brand, all the different things. So I'm going to toss it to you to kind of lay the groundwork of what, like, who are we and why are we even doing this show in the first place?
Yeah. So obviously we've worked with so many artists over the last decade, and all these conversations that we've had are one-to-one, and we're adding value. At the end of the day, that's what this show is here to do, is it's to add value. If you look at our business, Ross has the beautiful logo over here. There's the slash, and this slash is the divide. This is the enemy. This is the villain. And I think so many artists we've worked with, are either overwhelmed with understanding their art or the analytics. And this marketing thing tends to almost get like villainized. It's overwhelming because there's so many trends. So our big takeaway, for anyone listening to this show is like, how do we make you more confident? How do we make this social media thing, this being a band thing, less overwhelming? And how do we give you more direction and more focus so it doesn't feel as intimidating as it is a lot of times? Because constantly when we're talking with artists, it's like, yeah, we hate social media, or, we have all these feelings around our art and we don't know how to translate that. Or, I just wish I was better at this. For me, the biggest thing here is we have all these conversations and we help a lot of our clients, and we want to help at scale now. This is about legacy. This is about leaving something behind. And it's like, maybe you're not ready to hire, the producer or the music video director or the graphic designer or the social media expert, but maybe you just want to do some learning. Maybe you want to get better at this. Maybe you want to spark some ideas. Maybe you want to get more confident in the way that you view, your band as a brand. Constantly, that's the mindset shift that we're always trying to give our artists, because when they make that shift, they start to become more sustainable. They start to do this marketing thing better. And then, as much as it's, about like us, we make music videos. You do social media. We do so many elements of this band thing to make them better. It's not just for the vanity of it, but we want to know what success looks like. And a lot of the times we're just thinking about like, oh, we want to do this band thing. We want to make this art thing. And that's important. But giving someone an objection, a goal, a vision to move forward with that, that's really when things start to unlock. That's when our artists start to succeed. That's when they start to do better. So this show is really about that. How do we incubate some ideas? How do we get you to feel less overwhelmed about these different subjects? And, at the end of the day, like, there's all kinds of resources, but I don't feel like bands have a great resource. If there's one takeaway, I feel like it's just being able to talk to creative service providers better, maybe ask some better questions, maybe feel less overwhelmed, maybe get away from just the number side of things and understand that every piece of this, whether it's your graphic designer, your photographer, your videographer, your producer, they're all a part of your ecosystem. And when you start to develop that ecosystem, when you start to understand that ecosystem, you can actually do a lot better. So, let's get you past the divide. Let's get you more confident in these different areas that make a big difference in running your band like a brand.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is there's going to be a lot of takeaways of reminding anybody listening that like that divide doesn't have to exist. The divide that you were talking about, like it's to put it plainly, I don't think all of this stuff has to be as difficult as a lot of musicians tend to make it out to be. And when, hopefully when people like you or people like me or whatever are sharing this stuff, putting this stuff into the world, it can showcase that a little bit. It doesn't, like you said, there's not a lot of information of like, oh, well, there is a lot of information, but there's not a lot of like direct information, I would say, maybe broken down into different skill pieces or points or whatever it may be, of like exactly kind of how to manage a band. It's very easy to sit and say, hey, manage your band like a brand. And people can hear that and get hyped and be like, yeah, I'm going to be super stern with the decisions we make. But then a lot of people, I don't think, know why they're making those decisions at all. So yeah, I mean, when you presented this idea to me of like, hey, come help me make this podcast, it is more in the vein of, it's not a step-by-step for like creatives who are making music videos or taking photos or doing designs or whatever. Sure, there's going to be tidbits of that stuff in there because that's our perspective. But that perspective also comes from really just like managing a project as a whole. Yeah. And I don't mean project as a video project. I mean a band. There is tons that we have learned over the last decade, both of us individually and collectively, on how to manage a band. And I don't mean manage it like a label, but just manage the process of it and eliminate those things like that divide of, oh, well, this is super complicated because I've got this piece over here and that piece over there and that piece over there. And I've just got to get something from each of them, but I don't know how any of them connect. And I don't know how to make a marketing plan out of this. I don't know how to stay consistent or gain clarity in any of that. That, at least from my perspective, is going to be a lot of what's shared on the show.
Yeah. And I think if there's one key takeaway is like, this isn't about trends or anything like that, but it's really breaking people out of a fixed mindset into a more growth oriented mindset, not to make this too heady or anything, but so often the gift that we give artists is that ability to zoom out for a second. What typically happens for us is, an artist gets a hold of us and they're like, hey, we want to do a music video. How much does it cost? Yada, 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 all the general stuff. And we always slow everyone down and we kind of ask them, it's like, well, what are your short-term goals? Like, what do you hope to achieve with this project? And furthermore, what do you really hope that your artistry becomes? So when we're looking at partners, maybe it's your producer, maybe it's your graphic designer. When you're bringing people into the ecosystem, you need to have the right mindset for them to ever work in your favor, for them to ever work, vice versa. It's really about expanding the way that you think about these things. And then how does that partnership actually grow you in the process? If you're reaching out with a totally different mindset of like, I'm looking for a partner versus checking something off the to-do list.
Transaction.
It's really easy to say, oh, we have a single, we need to get a music video or a visualizer, or we need to get artwork done. Yeah, you need those things done. Get that checklist done. But are you doing it with someone who's adding value beyond getting the checklist done? And that value is how they're making you feel, how you're becoming more confident as an artist. And that's the biggest difference is like, as soon as we give someone the gift of zooming out and seeing their thing bigger, now it's not as overwhelming. If we were to look at the divide, a lot of times we say it's like an analytical versus an art, but really the divide is, your present self with your ideal self. So who do you really want to become? That's what I hope this show does. I hope it starts to expand the way that you think about yourself. So yeah, listen to this for all the tactics, all the things. But then start to ask yourself, how do I become that? Or how do I implement that? Or how do we adapt this? Or how do I bring this to my band or to the people in my ecosystem? And how does that add value? That's really the biggest thing that we want with this show.
Yep, I love it. So with this being an intro show, we're obviously going to kind of keep things short, simple, to the point. But before we officially say goodbye in this and kind of lead them into the wonderful field of all the episodes coming up, let's talk about some of those episodes. What are some topics that we're going to be covering within upcoming episodes here on the Involved Artist Podcast?
Yeah, well, I think we're assuming a little bit that the people who are going to watch this are going to be people that know us. But anyone who doesn't know us, I'm Josh Emerick. I'm a video producer. We've been running JECP, a music video company, for 10 years now. You've evolved into a director over the years. You didn't always start that way, but you really land in that assistant director, that director and art direction standpoint. And I'm very much the implementer. You're very much the visionary. And that's always really complemented our clients in a dynamic that's made their projects bigger, that's made their money more resourceful. So, with that, a lot of the episodes, we're going to be talking about like why a music video doesn't actually matter that much. We're going to be talking about how to love social media a little bit more. We're going to be talking about, how we've kind of navigated this as what we call the theme doctors. We're going to be talking about budgeting projects, the resources that money really provides for that. And we have a bunch of other episodes like that, but it's really about like how you look at partnership, how you look at, really just strengthening your whole ecosystem, your brand, your value, and just looking at the side of things less transactional, less trendy, and more future-proof. Sustainability is one of the biggest things. It's like, how do we make our partners more sustainable with budgets? How do we make them more sustainable in understanding their art, their purpose, their mission, their values? And those are the conversations that's like, whether it's us or other people in the industry that we know, those are the people that are really taking artists to the next level, because they're not just relying on us to get something done, but they start to become sustainable in getting things done themselves. So these episodes are all focused on those things. How do you become better? Whether you're hiring us, whether you're hiring someone else, this is a peek into the way that we look at things. And I hope that you still adapt and make these things a new part of your identity, a new area of growth, not just writing the damn thing better, getting the things done, or hiring someone for clout. You can do a lot of these things yourself. And when you take control back to your own, your own lane of things, instead of hiring the PR company, I'm not saying anything against that, but do you know how to do it yourself? That's how I hope you kind of go about this. Do you need to always hire a photographer, or is the phone in your pocket actually a valuable enough tool to create micro content? So it's really looking at this whole ecosystem in a different way. And that's what we want to do. We want to challenge the way that you're doing things now so that you can embrace change, which is really scary, but that's the key to growth. Doing things that you're uncomfortable with. If you're not excited about how things are going in your group right now, what can you do differently? Yep. And how's that going to make you feel better or transform better or impact your audience better?
Gaining a lot of clarity and then building that into consistency. And this podcast series is built off of about a decade's worth of helping a lot of artists figure these things out, and also learning a lot of these problems as they kind of pop up through so many interactions with the different artists we've had, which is now why we sit here and say, hey, it's the Evolved Artist Podcast, because I think over the years we've seen a lot of artists evolve in different ways, but also learn in our own ways, like you said, of our own skill sets that we've developed and how we've evolved. Now we can begin to give that back to the community in which we started in, which is the music industry.
Yes, absolutely. So I hope you enjoy the ride.
Boom. Great.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode. If you found this episode helpful or inspiring, share it with a friend or your band. Do the likes, reviews, and all the other things I'm supposed to tell you to do. If you want more music marketing insight and resources, you can join our newsletter at jecp.co. Gearing up for your next music video and need a video partner, or want to learn more about our approach to making music videos connect? Please book a discovery call or email josh@jecp.co. For years, we've watched artists feel overwhelmed by marketing and building a path towards success. We've been honored to help many artists make great music videos and get better at marketing. The old ways are being challenged, and the best artists are using platforms, trends, and building partnerships to become more sustainable. We are so honored to have made a mark and left an impact on this industry. This has been the JECP Music Video Makers Podcast, The Evolved Artist. We'll see you next time.